Head over to thebestsongever.com and purchase our new hit, Together Again. It is a cover of Smokey Mike and the God King. That's Jeremy Boring and Michael Knowles. And with your help, we will smash our way onto the Billboard charts. SCNR.com. SCOTUS denies Jack Smith's request to fast-track judgment on Trump's immunity claims. The order jeopardizes the special counsel's proposed March 4th start date. This is basically it. Donald Trump's victory in a single, very short sentence. The petition for a writ of certiorari before judgment is denied. There you go. What this means is Donald Trump is appealing. He's arguing that he is immune as president, and I believe the arguments presented, by legal scholars is sound. That a president does a lot of things. If you think the president has committed high crimes and misdemeanors, treason, sedition, whatever it might be, you impeach them, convict them, and then criminally charge them. The reason why we don't criminally charge sitting presidents is that they are the chief enforcer of law as the head of the executive branch. That means that we first have to remove them from the position of law enforcement before we criminally charge them. I think it makes total sense. Right now, what we're seeing is it looks like this case, the federal level, is not going to happen until after the election because of this. And what that likely means is Trump will pardon himself.
That would be the best move of all time.
I
think that would be so funny. Realistically, I feel like we're going to jump through some more legal hurdles before we get there, but it would make the Democrats crazy if we got to the point where Trump pardoned himself.
What's he going to be like? Pardon me. And then it'll be like, well, all right, he said it.
That actually does seem like something Donald Trump would do. He'd stand up and he'd smirk and he'd go, "Pardon me."
Can you do that? Can a president pardon himself legally?
No, you just put it on Truth Social. I am pardoned, and that's it.
Wow.
He would just say, "Pardon me."
Yeah.
That's a good one.
That's funny.
I'm not asking, I'm telling. I'm pardoned. He signs it. I think 2024 is going to be just balls to the wall crazy.
Wild. I think all bets are off. It's impossible to predict.
But
fasten your seatbelts.
We were talking with Eric Prince earlier this morning, founder of Blackwater. And, that's one of the questions I had, with his experience in conflict, crisis, in foreign war and all that stuff. For all the criticisms, I think his insight still matters. What would it be like? Like, is the potential there? Do you see the signs? And he was just saying that he basically said gradually, then suddenly, that with a lot of the countries they've seen in crisis, even during Katrina in the United States, it is overnight, your utilities are gone. This one of the scariest things I think people don't realize, and what he said was when his guys got to New Orleans during Katrina, when they arrived, there were dead bodies all over the place, killed by looters. And I said, I don't know if looter is the right word. Bandit, maybe barbarian. When people take all of our, we talked about high trust society, they take it for granted. When the president of the United States, his authority, his position is questioned and challenged, that is someone taking a hammer and a chisel and striking it into the stone foundation of this country in this way, particularly. And if confidence in the system shatters gradually, as we're seeing, and then suddenly overnight, electricity's off. Food's not at your store anymore. Internet's not working. You don't know what's going on. In a circumstance like that, the last place I'd want to be is like New York, Chicago, or LA. I wouldn't mind just being on the mountain in West Virginia with some chickens.
And from what I've been told, if that kind of thing were to happen and it was a utility down situation, you got about 3 weeks that you're going to need to survive on your own. And then things will probably come back. But in those 3 weeks, if you're not prepared.
Not if it's a civil war.
Not if it turns into something like that. But if it's like a grid down situation and it's like you've got a lot of death in the first 2 weeks, people that aren't prepared at all. But if you're one of those prepared people and you're able to like hold out, you should be okay.
Have you guys heard of a book called 1 Second After? Have you ever read this book? It's about an electromagnetic pulse and what happens to civilization. It all breaks down within a few hours. When there's no electricity, just what happens. And it basically devolves into Lord of the Flies, into just anarchy. And after a few days, people start breaking out into tribes. And it's crazy. You got to read that book.
And I think you see early signs of that right now, though, right? We see communities at odds with each other every day. I mean, I just saw the story today where Charlie Sheen, the actor, his neighbor like broke into his house and tried to strangle him. Like, people are at odds with one another every single day. There might be other circumstances there, but I think it's fair to say that trust has degraded enough to affect quality of life as we know it right now.
Just think about how crazy it was like in the 1800s, where you're some dude who has a farm and you could be in a feud with a guy like 50 miles away, and then he just go over there, kill him. and then go back and then nobody would know.
I mean, this was
You never do anything about it.
what's the prequel to, is it 1889, the like Yellowstone prequel? They have this whole thing where it's like, well, we want that land for our sheep to graze on. Okay, well, we'll come and murder you. Like, they have shootouts all the time.
Yeah.
It's not as far back as we think it is.
Right. In that one, it's like they were close enough to the city to where there were questions about the feud and everything. But back in the day, some guy would jump out of the forest, stab you, take your stuff. And there ain't no way anyone's going to figure out it happened.
I was going to tweet out. I didn't do it because it's kind of ridiculous. How many people do you think have died? I'm just talking about of all time. Yeah.
Oh, there's a number. You can Google it.
Really?
Yeah, of course.
But like you said, you can't track it because some people they disappear.
That's not true. We have 109 billion people have lived and died over the course of 192,000 years. It's an estimate, obviously, but it's just simply tracking population size and growth. And we know about population sizes through historical records.
Except for Tartaria.
Right. That was another 100 billion.
Oh, shit.
Never forget.
Tartaria.
Yeah, let's talk more. Well, I think this is the year of doing your best and maintaining friendships. It's going to be so important to be tight with who you're tight with and stay tight.
We're having this discussion with Michael Malice because he's got that bet with Roseanne. And
what's the bet?
Roseanne said there won't be an election. Michael Malice said, I will bet you $1,000 there will be. And she said, deal. She also bet there would be military tribunals at the end of this year, that Trump would be arresting people. And he laughed and he bet. And I'm like, Roseanne, that's not going to happen. Now, the question about election is, what do you mean by no election? I think we all agree she meant it would, like, chaos, the election wouldn't happen. And who was it Colonel McGregor? Who was it who said that we're not going to make it to 2024's election?
You might be right about that.
Was it McGregor?
Sure.
You want to look it up?
It was on a podcast, right?
It was on PBD, I think. And I actually think there's a strong case for that. And we joke with Michael Malice that he doesn't owe Roseanne any money because just because Trump's been removed from the ballot doesn't mean there won't be an election. And Michael was arguing that if it's Nikki Haley versus Joe Biden, it's still an election. And I'm like, fair point, agreed. But I'm starting to feel like if it does, I'm saying if it escalates, based on everything we're seeing, by May or June, the dam could snap. I mean, they're talking about putting the former president, I almost said sitting, the former president in prison and 74 million voters, more votes than any sitting president. It's not gonna work. I mean, people are just gonna go insane. January 6th already happened. They can make any argument they want about, yeah, but the government will stop them. I'm like, dude, what Eric Prince was talking about this morning, you got to understand that he said even police in Louisiana are looting. And we talked about this. I said there was a movie and the crew, the audience, the chat pointed out World War Z. Brad Pitt's character goes into the store to get medicine for his daughter. He sees a cop run in and he's like, oh, crap. And the cop just looks at him and starts grabbing stuff and then runs. Cops are people. So if it breaks down to this point, it's not just going to be the military being like, we are going to stop all of this. There were cops, active duty, and there were active duty military on January 6th in the Capitol. It's not like everybody in the army is just like a bunch of liberals.
Yeah, it's not like everybody that's wearing a cop uniform is going to be a cop either.
Yeah, exactly.
I got one of those Baofeng CB radios, those little $20, handheld shortwave radios, and a little solar panel. Got some solar panels. I mean, if grid down, we need to maintain communication. That's primary, number one. I don't know exactly the rules and restrictions of that because they'll be like, stay off of these channels. You can't go on these channels. And
I think the thing is, if we were to go grid down, this is the time that you would want to know your neighbors and know who's going to be in the houses next door to you. Because there's one thing to say, like, yes, we should all flee to the woods. But realistically, if you live in suburbia, if you live in a city, you're not going to be able to get out fast enough if the grid goes down. You have to know the people around you. And that's really the big crime of American culture today, which is that we are more isolated than ever and we are low trust. So we are unlikely to reach out to the people next door to us, and therefore we are surrounding ourselves with strangers.
Why do you think people feel low trust?
I mean, this is something they've documented over time, right? Like we are not a community-based people. We are not as involved in community service. We don't attend church as much. And so I think it's just sort of a cultural shift. Some of it, I would argue, has to do with values, right? You can say we all have the same values, but unless you live and breathe the values, we don't really know what they are. And I think also we are a more divided society politically. And so we are taught to look at everyone who doesn't vote the same way we do as the other. And that's an unrealistic way to live.
Trust is everything. Trust is confidence. A government only exists based on trust. I'm not saying trust as in, if Ian tells me he'll pay me back, I trust he will. That's a component. But trust is also, I know that if I break the law, I can trust in government to punish me or someone else. I know that if someone tries to break into my house, I can trust that the police will be there. Low trust society doesn't just mean we have faith in each other. It means, do we have faith in this system? And as we're moving closer and closer to, or as trust in society is dropping rapidly, it will eventually come to a point where it's no different than if there was no government. So when, Eric Prince is mentioning their guys show up after being called in by the government saying we need security and they find dead bodies, that's a zero trust society. Random guys with guns, don't care who you are, don't want to bother with it. They're hungry and they need stuff and you're in the way, you die. That could happen gradually as well as, hurricane comes, floods the city, everyone's in panic and chaos. The system is broken. Law enforcement is disheveled and looting and running. No, trust is gone.
The problem is, I think that some people are waiting for it to happen and are like ready for the moment the power goes down to just jump like another George Floyd riots, Summer of Love kind of thing.
Exactly.
Like they're not even going to wait 2 days before. They're just like, we are. So that I'm very concerned about that.
They're already doing it. We are seeing the videos over the past several years of people just storming into buildings and raiding them and taking whatever they want. And you know what it is? There's trust in this. They trust the government will do nothing to stop them. They trust no one will stop them. So the government will, law enforcement will arrest you for illegally bearing guns. They describe as illegal. I think the Constitution says otherwise. And then when the criminals come and rob and destroy your property, they say, what are we supposed to do about it? So the system is designed to fail right now. We're already at the point of almost no trust. What happens in the summer of this year when it's looking like Donald Trump will win, or they take action to in some way stop Donald Trump from winning? Eric Prince pointed out the only other time the Democrats, a president had been removed from the ballot, and it was Democrats who did it, was Abraham Lincoln. A year later, the country was in a civil war.
Vivek made an interesting tweet. I think it was yesterday. He said, if you think that Donald Trump or Joe Biden are getting anywhere near the White House, what is wrong with you? Like the way he phrased it was like, there's no way in hell that's going to happen. So,
Trump or Biden?
Yeah. He's kind of like, I think he sees something about the way that the deep state works and the way that the powers that be kind of want the situation to go. And they are the ones with all the secret police. So he's just kind of consigned himself to it. I don't know if the tweet's still up. I'm looking for it. It was about
Are you sure it's a real tweet? Or someone just made a fake one?
Here it is. It's from 20 hours ago from Vivek on his page. If you really think, quote, they are going to let either Trump or Biden get anywhere near the finish line, open your eyes, folks. There's something deeper going on. It's staring us right in the face.
Well, who is they, though?
Yeah, who is they? He put it in quotes.
Though?
Thank you, Ye, for giving us that meme.
And it could be way bigger than the American deep state. It could be even bigger than that. Who knows?
But we have to ask Ye. Who is they, though? I think one of the problems with tweets like this is like, and I think Vivek is an interesting guy. I respect what he's doing. I think one of the problems is it's not solution oriented. I wish there was a little bit more towards like there is something deeper going on. And I think that's our big problem right now is that people are ready to panic, but when there's an issue, you have to remain calm and come up with a solution.
What I like about the tweet, and I kind of agree with you, it's not a solution oriented tweet, is that he's kind of like, hey, don't follow that dangling carrot. That's kind of what that tweet read to me.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.